Welcome to the foundation of all that follows, Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos Book 1, a lecture by Professor Piscean. We are here today to dissect Tetrabiblos Book 1. To understand it is to understand the very bedrock upon which the entire edifice of Western astrology is built. If you do not grasp the principles laid down here, everything that follows in this course, indeed in your entire astrological education, will be a house built on sand. First, we must situate our author. Ptolemy was not a mystic, he was not a magician, he was a mathematician, a geographer, an astronomer, a scientist of the 2nd century AD, working within the great library of Alexandria. His Almagest laid out the mathematics of a geocentric universe with a precision that would dominate scientific thought for 1400 years. The Tetrabiblos, or the Four Books, is the companion to that work. Its full title is telling, the mathematical treatise in 4 books. For Ptolemy, astrology was an extension of astronomy, a form of applied mathematics. Book 1 is his apologia, his philosophical and methodological defense of the art. He is not writing for the village soothsayer, he is writing for his fellow philosophers and scientists. He knows his work will be met with skepticism, and so he begins, as all good scientists do, by establishing his terms and his axioms. He opens with a crucial distinction, one that should be etched into your minds. He separates astronomy, what he calls the first and primary power, from astrology, the second and predictive power. The first, he states, is undeniable. It is the pure observation of the movements of the heavenly bodies. It is fact. The second, astrology, is what he terms conjectural. It is an art of interpretation, of reasoning from effects to probable causes. It is, in his own words, not self-sufficiently capable of being altogether precise. From the very first page, Ptolemy admits the inherent uncertainty of his subject. This is not the mark of a charlatan, it is the mark of an honest intellectual. Why then pursue such an uncertain art? Because, he argues, its power is demonstrable through the effect of the most obvious celestial bodies, the sun and the moon. Does not the sun dictate the seasons, the growth of crops, the very cycle of life? Does not the moon clearly influence the tides? If these two bodies can exert such profound influence, is it not logical, by analogy, that the other planets possess their own qualities of influence? This argument from analogy is the cornerstone of his entire system. Having established the plausibility of stellar influence, Ptolemy then builds a system from the ground up with the elegant logic of a geometer. He begins with the fundamental qualities: hot, cold, wet, and dry. These are the building blocks of all matter, inherited from Aristotle. He then assigns these qualities to the planets. Saturn is primarily cold and secondarily dry. Think of its nature: slow, distant, restrictive. It is the principle of contraction, of boundary, of cold that preserves but also kills. Mars is primarily dry and secondarily hot. It is the principle of combustion, of fever, of aggressive, scorching action. Jupiter, lying between Saturn and Mars, is primarily hot and secondarily wet. It is temperate, expansive, fertile, the benevolent king. Venus, similarly temperate, is primarily wet and secondarily hot. It is the principle of moisture, connection, and luxuriant growth. Mercury, the hermaphroditic plant, is common and adaptable. It takes on the nature of the planet's aspects, being the messenger, the intellectual conduit. The sun is hot and dry, the moon is cold and wet. This is a system of exquisite balance. It is not arbitrary, it is based on their observed positions, and nature is relative to the earth and the sun. Next, he turns to the zodiac, and here we encounter one of his most enduring and logically beautiful structures: the assignment of the quadruplicities, the modes, and the triplicities, the elements. The quadruplicities: cardinal, fixed, mutable. Why? Observe the seasons. Aries, cardinal, initiates spring. Cancer, cardinal, initiates summer, and so on. It is an observation of celestial mechanics translated into character. The triplicities: fire, earth, air, water. This is his master stroke. He doesn't just list them, he provides a logical seasonal reason for their argument. The water triplicity: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. He assigns them to the northwesterly winds, the direction of the setting sun, and its associated moisture. The earthly triplicity: Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. He links them to the south wind, which in the Mediterranean is the dry, hot wind from the desert. The fiery triplicity, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, the east, the direction of the rising sun. In the airy triplicity, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, the west, the direction of balance, and in his model of air. This is not mythology, this is a scientific model based on the observed climate and geography of the ancient world. It is an attempt to create a unified field theory linking cosmos, climate, and character. He then details the planetary joys, the aspects, the sexes of the planets and signs, and the essential dignities and abilities. This last is critical. This is where the language gains its nuance. A planet in its domicile is like a lord in his own manner, powerful and free to act. A planet in its exaltation is like an honored guest, its virtues elevated. In its detriment or fall, it is like a stranger in a hostile land, its expression weakened or distorted. Why does Mars in Cancer, its fall, manifest so differently from Mars in Aries, its domicile? Because in Aries, the warrior is at home, his energy direct and pure. In Cancer, the warrior is trying to fight from within a fortress of sensitivity. His aggression becomes moody, defensive, and fraught with emotional peril. Now, a moment for critical thought. Ptolemy's system is brilliant, but it is not divine revelation. It is a human construct, a model. We must, as scholars, wrestle with its limitations. His assignment of male and female to signs and planets is a cultural reflection of his time, an immutable cosmic law. His entire system is geocentric, a fact we have known to be physically false for centuries, yet the model works. Why? Because astrology is a language of symbolism. The power is not in the physical gravity of Mars, but in the archetype of Mars. Ptolemy was not mapping the physical universe so much as he was mapping the human psyche's relationship with the cosmos. His genius was in creating a coherent, logical, and beautifully balanced symbolic system that could hold these profound psychological truths. Book 1 of the Tetrabiblos is therefore a constitution. It is the founding document of our art. It demands that we approach astrology not as superstitious sycophants, but as rigorous, critical, and disciplined thinkers. It tells us that before we can predict, we must understand. Before we can interpret, we must learn the grammar.